Why are we rooting for David Copperfield?
Why are we rooting for David Copperfield?
Yeah.
Come on, we prepared
Oh,
this.
man. Why are we rooting for David Copperfield?
He's sort of like, everyone sees themselves in him.
He's us.
Really.
Yeah.
He's us, really.
He's like kind of the ultimate underdog in a way.
Yeah.
And you see him struggle and rise through so much adversity. And you see at the end of the film immense gratitude to the people that helped him through this journey, and his friends and his family. And there's something very endearing about that, and hopeful.
Tell me about your character, Hugh. I just love, he's so lovable.
Well, thank you. You mean in the film?
Yes,
Yeah.
not your character.
It's about your personality.
Yeah. I play Mr. Dick. Mr. Dick is in some ways, rather a lost soul, or would have been had he not been taken under the wing of Betsy Trotwood, who takes care of him. They are sort of, we think, distantly related,
yes.
But it's not entirely clear how distant. But of course, family and the obligations that you have to take care of family is one of the sort of themes of the whole story, and much of what Dickens wrote. He's a character who, I suppose, is one of the, as you described it, is one of the earliest expressions of a character suffering actual, genuine mental illness. He is a man who is hearing voices. He is at times delusional and even psychotic, perhaps. And this causes him, not surprisingly, great distress, but also is an opportunity for, at times, great joy. And I think the joy that he finds through his relationship with David is, I found immensely touching. And was very sort of moved by it. And also the loyalty of Betsy Trotwood, who, had it not been for her, his life would have been, he'd have been consigned to an institution, the Bedlam being the original, the original and still the best.
Market leader.
Market leader. His life would have been a grim one, to put it mildly, really, really grim. And she rescues him and gives him this opportunity to form this relationship. And there is, as I say, there is great joy in it, and there's a sort of lightness and an opportunity to find a kind of peace that he might not otherwise have found.
Well, I was sent the script and I loved it. I mean, I love a music biopic, and it's a very empowering story for women, and the character was obviously sort of the antagonist, but I thought that there was room to make him more human. And after I met him, he was so loving towards his family and Helen, and really rooting for them. I wanted to try to bring a little bit of that. So that was kind of a challenge, to walk that line of doing both of those things, I guess.
Your father, at the very end of the film, he thanks you for being a part of it. Then he's like, "Why am I thanking you? I didn't want to do this."
Yes.
How did you convince your dad to be involved
I
in
just
this?
tricked him. I literally, I didn't tell my dad hardly anything about this project. He, early on when I pitched it, and I was like, okay, so it's comedians and it's hero fathers from around the globe, and who knows if it's organic, maybe I'll interview my dad. And my grandfather had passed away 2 years prior, and so I was like, maybe that comes out. And my dad was like, no, no, don't do that. We're not going to be in this movie. And then halfway through filming, I kept saying, I was like, I need a father who isn't a father, and then he becomes a father. I need to capture that transition, because there's no rite of passage for men becoming fathers. There are baby showers and whatnot for women, but there's zero rite of passage for men when they become a father. And so I wanted to kind of capture that. And halfway through filming, my brother told me that he and his wife were expecting their first child. And so then it was sort of like, you're gonna be in this documentary. And my dad was one of my last interviews. He was nervous. He was just really nervous. He was like, people are gonna hate it if it's just like a documentary about being like, I'm with my dad. Like, she's like, don't do that, please. But I still kind of did it. But it was told through, you know, these other stories, basically. You know, the impact of, there is a generational impact that comes with great parenting, and specifically in this case, great fathering. And so getting to kind of share that is super personal and very vulnerable, and I hope it's okay.
In Jessica, you're not only starred, you're exec producer of the series. What was so fascinating to you about the podcast, and what compelled you to make the show?
Well, I thought the podcast was real. Genuinely speaking, I called Michelle and said, oh my God, I missed this. How did I miss this? I can't find it online. I can't find anything. So for me, it was so alive in like a real way. And I had already invested in Leah, in this character, and what was going to happen to her, and what happened, you know, to this town and all these people, that it was just such an honor that we were able to work with these amazingly talented young men and bring their fascinating and close to reality. I mean, like, we're right around a part of in our culture where what is happening in Limetown could possibly happen in real life, or it is happening probably. And it's just been an incredible experience to take that podcast format, and they were kind enough to let Michelle and I and Becca come in and just sort of like, all right, now we're upheaving everything that you've done, give us everything that you've created, and now we're pulling out all the bits and pieces to, you know, really evolve this character for the screen. Mm-hmm. Because it's really quite a different format, you know? Zach was talking about how nice it was just to be able to show things, and how we could pull back on, you know, telling the audience, well, we don't have to do that anymore. You can just show them things and expose characters, you know, psychologies and their traumas, or whatever it is that we were trying to do, by just letting them do things instead of having to tell the audience what they were doing. Yeah. So for me and for Michelle, I think I can speak for both of us that it was just a really amazing development experience on this particular one.